In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word already existed with God in the beginning. God created everything through the Word, and nothing was created except through Him. The Word brought life to all that was created, and His life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. How many of you have ever seen the movie The Christmas Story? Anyone? Most iconic line, I think, in that one is the whole, I want a what for Christmas? I want a Red Ryder BB gun, and he goes on and on and on. I can't remember. He gives a whole description of it, doesn't he? This is like Mr. Movie Quote over here, our youth pastor. He can quote every movie that he's seen. It's like just boom, there it is. He could probably come up here and give us the entire quote of what that looks like. But what's his name, Ralphie? Coming along and saying, this is what I want for Christmas, and he rattles it off, and Santa responds with a... Okay, I'm just making sure we're awake this morning, and I'm seeing who all has seen that movie. I'm going to, full confession, I've only seen that movie like once in my life because I didn't like it. I know, that's like, you're not supposed to admit that, I think, as an American, that you didn't like that movie. But I didn't really care for it. Anyway, that's beside the point. You'll shoot your eye out, kids. Santa and the parents and the teacher, they all knew this is not a good gift for this child. Now, some of us are sitting there going, no, every little boy should have a gun, so let's get him a gun. And then, of course, you get to the end of the movie, and what happens? What does he do with the BB gun when he finally gets it? He mostly shoots his eye out. Like, he's an idiot. Not idiot, he's a kid. That was cruel. I take that back. He wasn't an idiot. But it ricochets off of a piece of metal, it comes back, it hits him in the eye, and we're all sitting there going, why would you put metal behind the thing that you're shooting? Why? Because he didn't know what he was doing, and he wasn't ready to have a BB gun, at least without somebody training him as to how to use this thing. The fake Santa and the teacher and the parents that were all ganging up against him all knew what he really, in this case, did not need for Christmas, and it was a Red Ryder BB gun. They knew some things that he needed, but that was definitely not one of them. At Christmas time, we take time in the church, and hopefully as we're, out in the world, because we are the church going into the world, but we take time remembering, we call it the real reason for the season, that it's about Jesus, that it's about the birth, but what it's really about is it is about a father giving gifts to his children that he knows that they actually need. Not just the gifts that they think that they want, but the gifts that they need. Oh man, hopefully he doesn't drop gifts like I do. Like this one right here. That he comes to those who their lives are full of chaos. Anybody relate to that one? That life is just, it seems like every turn there's something else going wrong in life. He comes to those whose lives are just turned absolutely upside down by the events that are happening. It could be the loss of a job. It could be a family member who is struggling with something. It could be that every morning you wake up and it is a struggle. He comes along to those and he says, I know the gift that those in chaos need. Those people need the gift of peace. And he gives that to them. He comes along and he sees those who are caught in addictions. And he says, I know what that person needs who is caught in addiction. It doesn't matter what kind of addiction it is. He comes along to those people and says they don't need more of what it is that they're addicted to. They don't necessarily just need a quick escape. What they need is they need freedom from it. They need absolute freedom from it. And so he comes along and says, for you who have an addiction, I've got a gift for you, and that gift is peace. He comes along to those who are full of confusion in their life. They're sitting there and they're going, I don't know what the next step looks like. I don't know what I need to do next. I don't know how to handle. I don't know how to answer the questions that are being asked of me. And he comes along and he says, I have a gift for you. I have the gift of clarity for you. I can give you the answers that you are looking for. He comes along to those He comes along to those young people especially, but those people of all ages who are struggling with identity, who are looking in the mirror and saying, I don't like what it is that I see. And as I walk through the halls of the school, I don't like, or I'm afraid of what other people see. I don't like what I'm portraying here. I'm worried about what people think all of the time. And he comes along to those people and he says, I've got a gift for you. It's called an identity. It's called an identity that you can rest in and you can have confidence in. And he keeps reaching into his bag of gifts here. He's like the ultimate Santa, but he's better than Santa because are there any young people in here that I'm going to spoil something for? Because Santa's not real. I hope I didn't just ruin that for anybody. But he's the real deal. And he comes along, he reaches into his bag and he says, I see you who are lonely. I see you who don't feel like you have anybody that you can reach out to and anybody that you can walk along with. I see you when you sit in your house by yourself and you're just wrestling because you would love for somebody to give you a phone call. You would love for somebody to say, let's go grab coffee. You would love to just not be alone. You would love to be in a group of people and not feel alone. Because we know that you can be surrounded by individuals and still be lonely. And he comes along to those people and he says, I have a gift for you. I have a gift of companionship. I have a gift of one who will walk with you everywhere that you go. And he's not done. You might be sitting there going, man, this is a lot of gifts from one guy. There's a lot of gifts from one dad that he's looking down. But he comes along to those who said, your life is turned upside down. You lost your job. Hey, I've got the gift of a future for you. He comes to those who have suffered abuse in their life, whether it be verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse. He comes to them and he says, I've got the gift for you of a loving father and a loving family that won't tear you down and that won't abuse you. And he comes over here and he gives that to them. He keeps reaching down. He says, for those of you who are doubting, I've got a gift for you too. And that gift is I have evidence. You don't just have to just take it because that's what somebody told you. No, I'm going to provide you with proof that all of this is real. And he keeps reaching in, people, and he looks at those and he says, I see you who have suffered loss. I see you who have buried a loved one recently. I see you who have seen your children walk away. I see you, and for you, I have joy in the midst of sorrow. And he keeps looking and he says, for those of you who have a family that has just been ripped apart, for you, I've got hope that this isn't it. You don't have to give up. And he keeps reaching in and he says, for you who are just absolutely desperate, for you who look out there and you say, I just don't see how any of this is ever going to work. He says, I've got peace for you. And I know my bag is empty, but his bag isn't empty. His bag continues to look out and to see each and every individual and to see the struggles that we're having. I mentioned 10, I think it was. But the reality is I could keep going. I could look out here, and if we sat and we talked, for some of you, I know some of the struggles that you're going through and you're wrestling with, and I can name them up here. For others of you, you're sitting there and you're saying, I don't know how to answer the questions of my children or my grandchildren. For others of you, you're sitting there and you're saying, I don't know how to handle the sickness that I'm going through. For each and every single one of us, he comes along and he says, I have a gift for you. And he does this, he's able to do this. We quoted it in John chapter 1 because he was there in the beginning, but he's able to do this because he doesn't just sit back and wait for us to put our wish list on Amazon and then go out and fill up our wish list. No, he knows what we need because he's walking with us. You know, as we read through Scripture, we run across that name for him, Emmanuel, God with us. And it's really easy because that was 2,000 years ago that he came down and was born as a baby. And yeah, we talk about that story, and it's a nice, cute little story. It really is. And really, most people know that story, whether or not they believe it or not, they know it. But to really stop and consider what that means, no, he is with us so much that he knows what it is that we need. He hears our wants. He hears us asking for the Red Ryder BB gun, and he's sitting there going, not a good idea. That's actually not what is best for you this Christmas, but I know what is best for you. One of my pet peeves, I'm going to air it out right here in front of all of you, which you're probably used to after the last 5 years of me airing out my pet peeves. But one of my pet peeves is hey, for Christmas this year, I'm going to put everything on Amazon, and you just go on there and you figure something out. And you want to know why that drives me crazy? Because I don't have to know anything about you to go buy that thing. And you don't have to know anything about me to buy that. And maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm just, I don't know, you can put in whatever words you want for it, but I'm like one of those people that if I'm going to get you a gift, I want it to be something that comes from something that I know about you, that comes from our relationship that we have. For the past 5 weeks, as we were walking through the song, It Is Well, we've been talking about how gifts, like the true, meaningful gifts that we hang on to, those are products of relationships. And so I know some of you are sitting here going, no, actually, I just prefer it if they throw it on Amazon and then I know that I got what they wanted. Hey, I'm not going to tear you down for it. I'm just going to say I don't like that way. Because I truly believe that the best gifts aren't just I got on there and I saw this list that you put down, but I truly believe the best gifts are the ones that I got because I know who you are. The other night, we had our staff Christmas party, and I went out and I found 2 ridiculous Star Wars dolls because I knew that there were 2 people there who love Star Wars. Now, neither one of them went home with those gifts because it was Dirty Santa and you could steal, and I think they saw the gifts and went, I like Star Wars, but that thing's creepy. But the point behind it was, I knew that there were 2 people there who loved Star Wars, and when I saw those, I was like, man, this would go great with all those other toys that our youth pastor has in his office. Not that, he's one I was thinking of, but man, this would go great with that. God knew and knows what we need because God spent time and spends time with us. We'll sing the songs about Emmanuel and we'll quote the idea about Emmanuel and we'll talk about how that's one of his names. But that's really what he did when Christmas came around. He'd been walking alongside his people. He was never the one who existed in the beginning and created all of this and then went, peace out, I'm done for a while. And then all of a sudden showed up and said, okay, I'm back in the picture now. I'm going to walk with you again. No, he was always there. But he realized that people had forgotten that. He realized people had lost sight of the fact that he was always there. And so he came. And he became one of us. John chapter 1 and verse 10, which is just a few verses later from what I just quoted at the beginning of our time together here, says, he came into the very world that he created, but the world didn't recognize him. The world, what they saw was a little baby born in humble circumstances to an unwed mother. He came to his own people, and even they rejected him. But to all who believed him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. They are reborn not with a physical birth resulting from human passion or plan, but a birth that comes from God. So the Word that existed in the very beginning, the Word that was with God and the Word that was God and the Word that everything was created through him, the Word became human and he made his home among us. I love the way, and you've heard me say it before, that the Message quotes this when it says that the Word became flesh and moved into the neighborhood. He moved in next door. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. You see, the gift of the birth of Jesus that we celebrate at Christmas time, that we talk about at Christmas time, the gift of the birth was God proving to us that he is with us. And God proving to us that he wants to, not that he has to, but that he wants to walk along beside us. How many of us are walking through this world, sitting in this building right now, but also walking around in our community who are sitting there going, I just wish that somebody knew me. And that somebody wanted to walk with me. That somebody loved me enough that they would give up everything with no strings attached. That I would matter that much to somebody. The gift of the birth was God proving that he was willing to give up a throne in heaven, if that's what it took to have us in relationship, and then to make us his children. In Hebrews 4:15, we read that this high priest of ours, this Jesus, this word that existed in the beginning, understands our weaknesses. For he faced all of the same testings that we do, yet he did not sin. And as I was reading that this week, I've taught on that scripture a lot. I've meditated on that scripture a lot. I've thought about it a lot. And what I typically go to when I think of that scripture and when I teach on that scripture is, man, that means Jesus was tempted with lying. That means Jesus was tempted to steal. That means Jesus was tempted to lust. He was tempted. He was faced with all of the testings that we are tested with. But what hit me this week is that means Jesus was tested with hopelessness. That means Jesus was tested by this feeling of despair. That means Jesus was tested with a feeling of there being no joy and no peace in his life. And we see it as he's in the garden, as he's crying out, God, please take this cup from me. I don't want to do this. That wasn't Jesus sitting there going, man, life is good and I am going through a bed of roses and it smells so good and my friends, they are so awesome and my family's so awesome. No, that was Jesus on the brink of despair, and yet still showing us how there can be joy in the midst of sorrow. Showing us how there can be hope when it seems as if there is no reason for hope. Tested in every way that we are tested, and yet did not sin. This one who came to be with us, it's a nice story and it's a true story that he came to walk alongside us, and that meant that he observed us and he knows us, but he was also, and it's so easy to lose sight of this, he was one of us. We like to throw out there that, he was able to resist it because he was God. And yes, he was God, but he was 100% fully flesh and blood human. And as soon as we forget that, then all of a sudden, we can't really comprehend what it would be like to be in a relationship with him. Or for him to come and to really be in a relationship with us, because there's always going to be that gap that we can't cross. It's important for us to remember that he understands us because he became one of us when he walked with us. The birth was the beginning piece of that gift of Christmas, and that's the part that at Christmas time, we focus a lot on it, and we should. I mean, that is the Christmas story. It is him coming to be with us, and that time comes, and we put up decorations, and it's festive, and we make these pretty trees and Christmas lights on our houses, which my kids keep pointing out to me, like, hey, where are our Christmas lights outside this year? And I said, well, here's the thing. It got cold, and I didn't get them up before it gets cold, and I don't put them up in the cold. If some of you are better than I am, like, nope, I'm out. Once that weather drops below 32, I don't hang Christmas lights anymore. But we make it all festive, and because we're celebrating a birth, right? And birthdays, we put up streamers and we put up banners and we pull out the candles and the balloons and all, especially when they're kids, which we're celebrating the birth of a baby at this point, so it makes sense. But that was just the beginning of all of this. In fact, I look back here and I see this, and it seems as if something is missing when we get to Christmas. And some of you might be sitting there going, yeah, it's a boring tree. There's no lights on this tree. But when it comes to the gift that Jesus gave, it's not a standard Christmas tree that the gifts go underneath. Because God's Christmas tree is a cross. Christmas didn't end, and the gift of Christmas, I should say, didn't end when he came to be with us. But it went all the way to the point of this one who came along, who walked with us, who became one of us, who knew the struggles that we have, and who knew what it is that we needed more than anything else. It led up to that point where he gave the ultimate gift so that we could have the freedom and the peace and the joy and the hope and the love and the evidence and the clarity, all of those things. It came to the foot of a cross. And it came to his blood pouring down as his life poured out for us. Most of us this year, when we give gifts to our loved ones, or even to those that we don't really care for, but we feel like we have to give them a gift, when we give gifts this year, we're going to have something left when it's over. Next month, we're going to be able to pay bills. Maybe we're going to be in debt, but we're going to hopefully be able to pay off that debt. We're going to still have a home that we're in. We're going to still have a bed that we're sleeping in. We're going to have something left. To this point in my life, I have never met an individual who gave so much at Christmas that there was literally nothing left for them. That they had no home, they had no clothes, they had no car, that they had no life. But God, the Word that existed in the very beginning, the Word that became flesh, the Word that was with God, and the Word was God, the Word that everything was created through, that nothing was created without Him, the Word that gave life to everything that was created, and that life brought light, and the light shone in the darkness, and the darkness could never extinguish it. That Word, Christmas is about Him heading to a different kind of tree to give everything that He had. As I've grown older and as I've become a parent, I've learned more and more what kind of sacrifice my parents made to raise us. They had 5 boys, which means that's a lot of food, that's a lot of clothing, that's a lot of insurance money, that's a lot. And I've realized, I've learned a little bit more of what it meant to sacrifice at gift-giving time. But this Father gave everything. Absolutely everything. greater the sacrifice for the gift that's given generally increases our appreciation. Not always. I realize we go through stages where we throw it back at the giver. And we do that to him a lot. But for the one who gave everything for you, my question this Christmas is, actually two questions. How will you respond? And what gift will you bring to him?